The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
If you've ever watched Star Wars, you know how important the Force is in those movies. And it's what gives the Jedis their power. In real life, we have forces too, but they work a little differently. In our world, a force is basically a push or a pull. The simplest example of this is opening a door. Most doors, to open it, you either have to pull it or push it to go through. Our goal today is to learn about force, what it is, and some of the really important parts that force plays in our lives. Let's do a quick intro about how we use force in our everyday lives.
A force is a push or a pull. Think about how you start your day. You wake up and push yourself out of bed. You pull a box from the shelf and pour cereal into a bowl. You lift a milk carton and pour the milk. And then you pull spoonfuls of cereal to your mouth. You might not wake up thinking that you are using forces, but you are. A force is a push or a pull, and each time you push or pull something, you use a force. Every time something starts to move, stops moving, or changes direction, forces are involved. The caption here says, "What forces does the girl use to prepare and eat her breakfast?"
So even doing something as simple as getting ourselves a bowl of cereal in the morning and getting out of bed, there's a lot of different forces that we're using to accomplish that task. Right now, think about a sport that you like to play. It can be any sport. And let's make a list of some of the forces that are going on when we play that sport. I like to play soccer. A couple of the forces that I can think of are pushing the ball with my foot as I kick toward the goal, or pulling the ball back towards me and rolling it towards my feet. What sport do you like to play? And what kind of forces can you think of that are involved in that sport? So hold on to that list that you just made, because there might be a question about it on your challenge task today.
Forces change motion. Whenever you cause something to start to move, stop moving, or change speed, you use forces. Motion is a change of position. Think about kicking a ball. A force from your leg causes the ball to move, and the ball is pushed into motion. The force of the kick changes the ball from not moving to moving. As the ball changes location, it is in motion. A bike rider pushes the bike's pedals to begin moving in a race. He pushes the handlebars to change directions to zigzag around the cones. The rider uses forces to change his direction and speed. Forces can also make things stop moving. When the rider is ready to stop, he will stop pushing the bike pedals, and he will pull on the bicycle brakes in a way that slows him down. Caption here says, "The rider uses forces to start, change, and stop his motion." Forces can be balanced or unbalanced. When two equal teams play tug of war, the rope may not move at all. There is no motion. If you add up all the forces acting on the rope, they are equal. The pull from one side equals the pull from the other side. The forces on the rope are balanced forces. What happens to the rope when one side pulls with greater force than the other side? Forces on the rope become unbalanced. Unbalanced forces cause an object's motion to change. One team will begin to win the tug of war. Imagine the tug of war rope sitting still on the ground. You might be surprised that forces are acting on it. The force of gravity is pulling down on the rope, or the force of gravity is pulling the rope down all the time. The ground also pushes up against the rope. The two forces are equal but acting in opposite directions. How could you make the forces unbalanced and change the motion of the rope? By pulling on it to pick it up. Gravity is a pulling force. Forces are all around you. You can see or feel many of them, especially when they are unbalanced. You feel forces when someone pushes you on a swing, and you feel a pull when someone tugs on your shirt. You might not see or notice it, but the force of gravity pulls on you all the time. Earth's gravity is a force that pulls objects down toward the ground. When you are sitting still, are forces acting on you? Yes. The force of the ground is pushing upward on your body, and the force of gravity is pulling you down. You don't float up or sink down because the forces are balanced. If you jump up, the push you apply with your muscles makes the forces unbalanced. You move upward. Gravity pulls the boy downward. He pushes against the force with his legs as he balances.
So even though we can't feel it, gravity is constantly pulling down on our bodies. And the only reason we're able to hold ourselves up is because there's force pushing back from the floor of the chair that we're on. If you really want to experience gravity, do some push-ups. How many can you do? I bet the first or second will be easy, but after a while, your arms are going to get tired from constantly pushing yourself up against the force of gravity. Also, we can really see the power of gravity when we're not standing on a flat surface. Check out this clip from a game called Line Rider. Now, it is a game, but it also mirrors the effect of gravity in real life. Check what happens when the ramp underneath him is slanted and how fast he gets going.
A force has direction. The dogs in the picture play tug with a rope toy. When the dogs pull the toy with the same amount of force, the toy does not move. The forces are balanced. The balanced forces have the same strength, but the forces pull in opposite directions. One way to understand forces is to draw arrows to represent their direction. One dog pulls the rope toy to the left. The other dog pulls the toy to the right. And using arrows on pictures can help us model or show that all forces have direction. A force has strength. Look at the picture. Which dog do you think will win the tugging match? The brown and white dog on the left is bigger, and it can probably pull with a stronger force. When two forces of different strengths pull on an object, the object will move towards the stronger pull. When two forces of different strength push on an object, the object moves away from the stronger push. When pushes and pulls are balanced, the object will not move.
So in our reading, the bigger dog will probably win the game of tug of war. The same thing is true for objects, and this is because of something called mass. Objects that are heavier or have more stuff inside have more mass than other objects. So this basketball has a lot more mass than this tennis ball does. So check out what happens when I roll the tennis ball and the basketball towards each other with equal force. What do you think will happen? Yeah, that tennis ball had no chance.
Can you predict if something will move when it is pushed or pulled? If you think carefully about the strength and directions of all the forces on the object, you can predict the motion of an object. Try it yourself. You can draw pictures and arrows to help explain what causes something to move or stop moving. The caption here says, "These are unbalanced forces because one dog pulls with a stronger force."
So one of the nice things about gravity as a pulling force is that it's pulling at the same force all of the time, which means it's predictable, which makes humans be able to do things like juggling. If someone can learn to push the ball up at the same force every time and in the same direction, they can learn to do this with more than one ball at once. Or you can add all three together. And that's because gravity and the force that it acts upon objects is predictable. So every single force that we've learned about is either a push or a pull. And we know that gravity is one of the most important pulling forces that impacts just about everything we do in our lives. And also that an object with more mass usually has more force when it's going the same speed as an object with smaller mass. Head on over to Google Classroom. I've got a short challenge task for you to show what you've learned. And then, if you'd like, meet me at 10 a.m. for office hours today.